Well, greetings, Cristian. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Thank you, sir. You too. This is another beautiful place that we're at today. Where are we?
We're at Listerfield Lake, which is in Listerfield, and it is just stunning, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at this lake behind us. We got a bunch of ducks around us, a bunch of seagulls, and a few people rowing. Maybe we should do that one day. Record a podcast.
Record a podcast
on the lake, on the water.
Yeah. What are they? Stand-up paddleboards?
Yeah. What are they called?
That would be.
I don't know what they're called. There's a name for them.
Stand-up paddleboards.
Is that actually what they're called?
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, there might be a more.
There's a name for the. It's a sport or it's an activity. It's got a specific name. It's a weird name. It's not a weird name, but it's a different name.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we should do it.
We should definitely. You can get the blow up ones actually.
You can. Kmart. Get them from there. But yeah, episode 3. This is where we're at today. Episode 3. Episodes 1 and 2 have been great. We've loved them. We also found out that those episodes.
You have a little friend, don't you?
Have a friend flying in my face.
You have a friend.
Few flies.
Friends.
That's all right. Friends. Fly friends.
Fly friends.
Lake friends. Yay. But yeah, episodes 1 and 2 are great. But because you and I are very conversationalists and we can talk for hours and hours about things, especially episode 2, that was a great episode, but that went for quite a while. There was probably like 50 topics in there.
Yes.
So in true Calum and Cristian fashion, we've decided that we're going to add a bit more structure to our podcasts. Because each podcast we do, we've improved and we've learned something. So lucky you guys actually have an expectation of what we can possibly will be talking about today. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about rushing and selfishness. That's something to expect in this podcast. And also we're going to be talking about how to add more balance into your life, because lots of us we're doing a lot of things and we try to wonder, well, how do we balance them? How do we not destroy things, or where do we make time for like even just ourselves? So those are some key things we're going to be talking about today. Obviously there'll be some mini important topics throughout little gems.
In true Cristian and Calum fashion, we'll go off on some little.
We'll go off the beaten path every now and then, but
off the beaten path.
We'll aim to stay on track with those 2 topics.
Yes, sir.
So beautiful. Anything you want to add to that before we dive in?
Cristian, it's been a pleasure recording this with you so far.
Yes.
If that doesn't need to be reinforced, but I think it's important that we just kind of highlight the fact that this is a very fun little activity that we're doing, and we are doing it obviously for the reason that we can help people with what we know and pass on that knowledge and share that knowledge. It's also just a space for us to be able to discover more about each other and just learn more about what each other know, and then explore different topics, and just a safe space in which we can question each other at times. And it's a beautiful, beautiful little thing we have going, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you too. And we get to come to these amazing places. And at the end of the day, like most of the time, we're thinking out loud, we're processing things. So not only is this teaching you guys, but it's teaching us a bit more how to articulate things a bit better. What are they going on over there? Looks like they're setting up a bit of a doof or something. It's got a speaker. Anyways, we'll find out as we're recording the podcast. So we've decided that we're going to start off every podcast with this one question. And it is, what's a lesson from last week in under 60 seconds? What's something you learned last week? Or that you've been learning recently?
Something I've been learning recently. Let's just take us straight to the drive here, right? On the drive here, a lot of things going through the mind. So much things going through the mind. And the easiest thing we can do is think that we need to kind of process it or rationalize each different thing, right? And handle it, deal with it. But what we actually need to do, or what I've found is useful for me, is literally just continuing to do what I said I was going to do. I was driving over here. That was my intention. That was what I was doing today. All of the things going on in the mind, all of the noise wasn't important, as long as I could keep doing what I was doing.
Yeah, because it was focused on things that weren't relevant to what you're doing now.
And my gosh, you try and rationalize the one thought with another thought, and it just breeds another thought and another thought, another. So just more about stepping back, and it's just really just been a week of just letting go of all of the things that are going on in the mind and just letting them be there and not having to get rid of them.
Yeah, so more just pick and choosing what's relevant for the present moment.
Exactly right, Cristian.
Beautiful. That's a great learning lesson. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. For me, Was there anything else you want to add to that?
Please, I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
So mine was, I realized this morning. So tomorrow, as you would know, I'm going away for the week. And my learning lesson is, this is probably the first time I've had a whole week off working in over a year, maybe 2 years. Even though, you know, I have breaks, I'm still at my laptop. My laptop's always on. I'm always checking it, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to be the first week where I'm completely disconnected. I've just got one group call on the Tuesday for mastery, but that's it. So for me, the learning lesson I had, and I've been thinking about this all week, is it's just a reinforcement of I don't need to get lost in my work, or the work isn't the most important thing. It's very enjoyable. I love my work, but it's not the most important thing. It's okay to disconnect. It's okay to take time, which is obviously common sense. You know, you don't have to work all the time. But for me, it's just allowing myself to accept that I can rest. I can slow down. As we were talking about last episode, you know, we talked about slowing down. So for me, it's just, okay, I don't have to be connected all the time, which is something I know, but for the past week, I've been just having to remind myself of it, which I think, going back to learning lessons, the most important learning lessons we learn are the ones we're just constantly reminding ourselves of until it sticks. So yeah, that's been one for me, just learning that it's okay that I'm taking a week off, and there's nothing wrong with me for taking a week off.
It's a well-deserved holiday, mate.
Thanks, bro.
You work very hard.
Yeah, and I enjoy it. Like, what I'm saying is, don't work hard. Work as hard as you want, but you can take weeks off if you need.
It's for good reason as well. You and your beautiful partner are taking some time away. Anniversary, Valentine's Day, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we're both looking forward to it very much. We're going to Apollo Bay, so another beautiful scenic route. Whilst I'm there, I might even scout some places that we can record later podcasts at. So that's it.
Did you just suggest a tax-deductible holiday?
Oh, my God.
Oh,
we can do that. Can we do that? We can do that, can't we?
We can do that, yeah.
Technically. There we go. All right. So we got our first question. So instead of maybe asking 1 or 3 questions each podcast, we're going to ask 2 specific ones. And this one, and I have no idea where you're going with it, and I really want to hear.
Oh, let's explore.
I really want to hear Calum's thoughts on this. So this is your question, and it is, why is there a direct link between rushing and selfishness? So we talked a little bit about rushing last week, but we talked about it from the perspective or the lens of insecurity, or along those lines, like not being okay staying with yourself. So, but this week, this episode, it's about selfishness. So, yeah. What is the direct link between those 2 things there?
Great question. We can find ourselves rushing all the time. It even ties into what you were just saying then about having some time off and needing to almost allow yourself to do it. Reminding yourself that it's okay. This is something similar. It comes down to the question of why you were working in the first place. If you are working for the benefit of other people, to add value to this planet, to channel your creativity, to put your life to good use, you find that taking time away is no problem. It is easy. Or not easy, but easier.
Yeah, there's not as much guilt or shame towards it.
Exactly. And the guilt or shame, that's interesting that you mentioned that, but that would come into the question, or the equation. It comes into the situation or into the considerations when you're taking a break, when you're working for the wrong reasons, such as needing to prove yourself. And when you need to prove yourself, that is coming from a place of insecurity in yourself, and therefore working all the time and rushing around everywhere all the time is actually coming from a place of selfishness, because you are trying to prove yourself and therefore servicing the ego.
This is such a great topic, and I'm so glad that's where that question went. So yes, I 100% agree that no matter what you do, the most important thing is the intention behind it. So one of my favorite principles is the right thing for the wrong reason is the wrong thing. So as you're saying there's nothing wrong with working. There's nothing wrong with your purpose. But if you're doing it to prove yourself or to satisfy the feeling that I'm not good enough, or if I achieve X amount in my business goal, like if I make X amount I will only feel good enough about myself. I'm only worthy of whatever until I reach X amount of money per month. If you're doing that, then as you said, it's selfish and it's coming from a place of insecurity. Now, as we said, there's nothing wrong with the goal. There's nothing wrong with having the goal of, I want to earn X amount of money per month. But yeah, what's the intention behind it? Is it because you already feel good within yourself? And then that's your goal is just an expression of your internal state, of your internal comfortableness with yourself. Yeah. So I think that's very important. It's very important. The reason behind is very important. So adding value. Great topic.
Yeah. Well, we can find ourselves as young individuals finding it very hard to slow down and finding it hard to relax. That's when we find ourselves in places of addiction. We find ourselves always exhausted. Interestingly enough, to bring some of my personal experience into it, I've always had this crazy work ethic. Like, could always work hard as, and I got really, really good at being productive, which I now am able to coach people into being more productive, which is a very handy thing. But you know where I got that from?
The insecurity. I was the same. I feel like we've gone through a very similar path in this. So when in school, I was a very productive person. Like I was always doing homework, and which is cool, but it probably wasn't the best thing looking back on it now. Like I was always working, but I probably wasn't efficient with my work. So then after that, I learned how to be efficient with my calendar, my schedule, blah, 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 blah. And as you know, like both of us, we're very big on productivity, and we've got almost swooped you. I was just watching it. It went bang. But yeah, we're both very good on productivity. Usually our clients, when they come to us, that one of the things they always come to us is, or they get coached from us by, is productivity. How do I do this? How do I do that? Blah, blah, blah.
Organization
as well as lots of other things, but that's like, there's lots of underlying things behind that. But lots of people want to learn about productivity and how do I make the most of my time, blah, 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 because we're quite good at it. But I feel like because we went to the extreme and we got very good at it, we've learned the downsides of it, and we've actually been able to do less. And that's something I would say we've both been learning over the past year or so, which is essentially what we talked about last episode, so we don't need to talk about it more today. But yeah, we have learned that productivity is great, but productivity doesn't mean working all the time. And I think one thing lots of people struggle with, or they have difficulty understanding or accepting this or implementing it into their life, that's the word I was looking for, is being okay with doing nothing as being productive. If you guys remember the petrol analogy from last episode of you need to fill up the tank, otherwise if you don't fill up the tank when the petrol light is on, you're not going to get to the destination.
Would you like to pick up where you were going from?
Yeah, we'll pick up from where we're going, because we had
some really good topics.
Because it was 11:11 and you have an alarm at 11:11 that literally teaches you to slow down.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
yes,
that just went off. That's why.
Very handy every single day.
Yeah,
very handy. Getting in the car, just quickly touching on that. Getting in the car 11:11 every day. Getting out of the car, sitting down at the laptop, just doing some quick breath work. It really slows down your day. It really brings you some more peace, and it's a very, very useful little practice if you don't already. Yeah,
the breath is very powerful.
It is.
If you want to improve the majority of your areas in your life, one of the foundational things is your breaths, and that teaches you to slow down and to be more aware of what's going on inside you, and then you learn lots about yourself. But going back to the question of, I guess, the intention or the selfishness. So is there anything more you want to add into that, or another personal story that you have relating to, how you discovered that, maybe, yes, I was working hard, I was being super productive, but maybe this was for the wrong reason. And then what did you do about it? Like, did you change what you were doing? Did you just change the reason behind it? Like, what did you do?
Well, thank you for asking me. The question is obviously around what practices I have implemented and what I found. I found that I was being productive for the reason of selfishness. And the reason I say that I was rushing for selfishness is because I was a big time pothead. Loved weed. Hard.
Yep.
Stoner, big time, every single day. And that's when we were saying before how I was able to bring it back into being productive was like Ben Cousins. He would train all day. He would train all day, get everything that he needed to do done, and then get high. I was the exact same.
So did you see it as a reward?
It was a reward.
Okay.
But then the reward itself was escaping my reality. So my reward for being productive and achieving was to escape.
So do you feel like by overworking, that was helping you not think about maybe the things that were going on in your head? And then as soon as you stopped and you achieved your things, it's like you're able to slow down and be like, oh shit, now I'm thinking about the things that I don't want to think about in my head, so I better have some weed. Is that what it was?
You hit the nail on the head, mate.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head.
When did you realize that? Because I know that's not an easy thing to realize.
No. It was really the main time that I realized that was when we broke up. I broke up with my last girlfriend, and this is very vulnerable, but it was a real eye-opener because throughout that relationship I'd been very closed and I basically driven it into the ground, and it was my fault because I was too concentrated on productivity. I was too concentrated on trying to escape the person I was. I was too concentrated on being the person that everyone else wanted me to be, and that drove me away from my partner. That basically ended my relationship. It basically made that relationship impossible to grow. It couldn't grow. And it was basically just ending for a very long time. I was trying to do all these different things and none of them were working because I wasn't able to stick with stuff, because the most important thing for me at the time was to run away and get away from what I was doing. It literally made me incapable of forming a relationship with someone else because I was too concentrated on running away from who I was. And if I wasn't okay with the person that I was, how could I possibly ever love and accept someone else for the way they are?
Yeah.
So productivity was at the heart of that, and rushing, it's crazy to even loop those two in, but rushing and productivity, they were all there. They were all wrapped in this little box, this little package that essentially sent me to being able to shut off everyone in my life. And I wasn't talking to my parents anymore. I wasn't talking to my family wondering what was going on. I was full addict in every single way. And there was barely a day that I was sober, but yet I was still running all the time. I was still getting everything I needed to done. So on the surface, it looked like I was doing really, really well. It looked like I was smashing into my career. It looked like I was doing well. When behind the scenes, I was in so much pain.
Thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for sharing that. So you were overworking yourself, but no one could see what was going on the inside. So on the outside, everything looked good. But on the inside, you knew something was wrong. You knew something was wrong. And would you say that because you were always going, doing, achieving, as you said, you didn't have time for the important people in your life, and therefore your relationship couldn't grow? Yeah.
There was no room.
Yeah. So what are you doing differently now?
I'm sober.
Mm-hmm.
And that has, on the way here as well, thinking about something else. Last night, I'm driving to my new partner's place, who I adore. And I'm on the way to her place, and I'm thinking about cigarettes. I'm thinking, I should get a cigarette. I should get a cigarette. I love cigarettes. I'm on the way. And something in me just knew that that wasn't going to happen. Something in me just knew that that's not something that I needed to do anymore.
I think that's an important thing to quickly talk about is when you overcome an addiction or you no longer do it, you still have the thought about it. Like you still think about it. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or that you've failed. The most important thing is just realizing we're not our thoughts. And that I still get cravings for vaping and doing porn and all these things. But at the end of the day, we're the decision maker. We're the one who gets to decide out of all the thoughts that are going on in our head, which one do we do? So
that's right, mate. That's perfectly said.
I think that's a very important thing that you just talked about there. That literally on the way here, you said?
On the way here, last night, both of them.
Both of them. You still, you haven't had a cigarette in a very long time. How long?
No. Cigarettes every now and then. But in terms of drugs, like an alcohol and the way the addiction used to be, is.
Do you still get the craving for weed?
Of course. Yeah. Oh, every now and then.
And when was the last time you did weed?
Long time ago.
Yeah. See, so like Calum's overcome that addiction of weed and he still gets the craving. And so if you're going through the same thing, don't have shame towards that. It's completely normal and there's nothing wrong with it. I still get the cravings for porn, for vaping. If I walk past someone and they're having a vape, I still get the thought. And I don't deny it because the worst thing you can do is deny it. I don't deny that I do feel like having it. But I'm just not going to have it. I do feel like having it, but I'm not going to have it. And that's a very important thing. Because as soon as you start like rejecting it, it fights harder.
Exactly right.
It fights harder. It's
exactly
like
right.
You picture it as a tug of war race, or a tug of war challenge. You're tug of warring with this addiction. The harder you pull, the harder it pulls. If you just let go of the rope, it just falls over and that's it.
You don't make it a competition. It's
you
like
don't make it a
Yeah,
competition. It's like
that's right.
You're just walking away from the competition.
Yes.
And that means the addiction will still come up to be like, here's a rope, but you don't have to pull the rope.
Yes, sir.
You have to pull back. And I think that's a great summary of just life in general, or our thoughts in general, our emotions in general. They come and they go and you can't stop them and there's nothing wrong with any of them, but you're the one who gets to decide, do you pull the rope or do you just leave the rope?
Well said.
Yeah. So I'll share some of my story with your question. And I have a very similar story to you where I was always working in school. As I said, I was always studying. And I realized that the reason why I started my coaching business, or I went into coaching, was to make myself feel good, or to make myself feel intelligent, or to make myself feel whatever it was, all those types of things, to make myself successful. I think social media plays a huge role in this because we see what people are doing, like, oh, I want to do that too. So I came to that realization, I would say a year ago, sometime last year. I was like, do I actually want to keep doing this? Is this actually something I want to do? And I just asked myself that question. Sometimes we're afraid to ask that question because we're scared of what the answer is. But I asked myself that question, and I've asked it for a bunch of things. I know you asked that from DJing in particular as well. And I realized, okay, maybe this was coming from a piece of insecurity. But then I also realized, but this is actually still a very good thing for me to do. And there is still a part of me that feels called to do this. So what I did is I created a purpose. This was actually more than a year ago. It was probably 2 years ago now. I created a purpose or different intention. Purpose simply just means why. So I created a different reason why I would do it. So instead of it being a way for me to show the world how intelligent I was, or to make as much money for me or whatever it was, blah, 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 blah. I switched the intention. Instead of stopping the amazing thing, I simply switched the reason why I did the amazing thing. And I made it more about, okay, this isn't for me, this is for my clients, or for the people who need the support, or for the people who are going through the things that I was going through and who feel lost. And it's not just about me. And obviously, making money is great. It's not the most important thing, but there's nothing wrong with it. It is important. Money's important. You can't deny that. But the reason why I make money is like, okay, why am I making money? Is it just for me? Or for me, one of the big things, it's for my future family. So when it comes to purpose, I call this a self-transcending purpose, a reason bigger than yourself. So you can have a selfish purpose or a self-transcending purpose. A selfish purpose is a purpose that is just about you, or it benefits just you, and that'll motivate you for short period of time, and it'd be a very powerful motivation, but it won't motivate you for a long period of time. And you could also call this like a dark purpose. And then a self-transcending purpose is a reason that's bigger than yourself, because as humans, we're tribal creatures, so we naturally want to contribute to the tribe or to the people around us or the people who are important to us. So when we have a reason bigger than ourselves, or a reason that includes someone we care about, now this is different to people pleasing. Like, you can get them mixed up, but this is not people pleasing. But when you have a reason that's bigger than yourself, that contributes to a group of people, to something particular, it motivates you for longer. So I'll give you an example. Let's say for the gym. Now, lots of us, and including myself, and you would have gone through this too, we start going to the gym because we feel shit about ourselves. So we're trying to escape who we are, but we also go for a selfish reason of we want to look good so we can get as many chicks as possible, or we can fuck as many birds as possible, pretty much. And we realize, oh, okay, that's what it was, or maybe we willingly did it knowing that's the case. Now, there's nothing wrong with either of those two things. In a sense, we can argue about the second one, but there's nothing wrong with going to the gym, but we need to change the reason. So I changed it to, okay, at the time I still wanted to do that because I was single at the time. I don't have any need to do that anymore because I'm in a healthy, loving relationship. And then I also realized as a person, I'd never needed to do that. But now me going to the gym is I want to become the healthiest person for myself, for my so I can play with my grandkids and things along those lines. And yeah, I reckon, I don't know if they can hear that, but I reckon I can cut that out. They're blowing up an inflatable there with a pump. So yeah. So I guess the learning lesson for me was not to stop going to the gym. It was to change the reason why I went to the gym. So I think going full circle back to your question, rushing can be productive simply because of when we're rushing, it could be an indication or self-awareness moment that, oh, if I'm rushing so much, is this coming from a tainted intention?
Yes. So you're using it as like a little bit of a
self-awareness tool.
Yeah.
Why am I rushing?
That can be useful, can't it?
Yeah. Why am I rushing? Am I rushing because I feel pressured to prove myself? Once you realize that, you can change the belief and be like, oh, maybe I don't need to prove myself. And then you notice that you actually become more productive because you're more relaxed and you're not so stressed about proving yourself, and you think clearer.
Yes.
And you have better ideas. You actually allow yourself to relax, to spend time in nature, spend time with your loved ones, with your friends, with your family, which means everything improves, which leads on to our second question about, okay, but how do you do that? How do you do all those things? So is there anything else you want to add to that? All right, let's get back to it.
Let's go.
Yeah, we had someone blowing up their paddle thing that we couldn't figure out what the name of it was before, the blow up paddle. So we did have to stop for a little while. But we got to observe some things that are going out. Some people jumping in the water. As you'll see, there's probably someone jumping in behind Calum right now. But yeah, we'll wrap up this first question here. So we're going to quickly just talk about, we'll have a later lesson on purpose and things along those lines, and we'll go much more in depth in it. But we're just going to give a few quick pointers on what to do if you notice that you're rushing. So I'll just go first. So but if you notice you're rushing, just easiest thing is maintain your self-awareness throughout the day. So if you're rushing, just take that 2 seconds to take literally 1 deep breath or 2 deep breaths, and in that 2 seconds you can literally learn so much about yourself. And I'll say, so notice you're rushing is step 1, then take those 2 breaths to slow down, and then just ask yourself why am I rushing? And not all the time, but sometimes you might discover that, oh, it's coming from a place of insecurity, or I feel like I need to prove myself, or blah, 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 blah. So then that's coming from a belief of I'm not good enough, or something along those lines. So you can just build self-awareness around that. Our emotions are a great indicator of what our beliefs are. And then if you change your beliefs, you change your everything else in your life. So you notice you're rushing, notice what belief that's coming from, or what you believe about yourself. Do you believe you're good enough? Do you believe time's against you? Blah, 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 blah. And then from that, I think there's a bug on the camera. Excuse me, sir. Can you please get yourself off the camera? It was right, literally on the lens. So notice you're rushing. Slow down. Realize, oh, is there a reason behind this? Is there idea? a belief behind it, and then just change it. Change the belief. Change the belief or change what you're doing. Either change what you're doing or the reason why you're doing it. And that's it. You don't have to overcomplicate it. So you can either change what you're doing if you realize what you're doing is for the wrong reasons, it's not something you need to do, or you can just change the reason why you're doing it. So that would be my step-by-step process.
Well done, mate. Great little share just then. Fantastic. And it's what Cristian was doing is he's kind of addressing the very core issues.
Yeah, the root.
Yeah. So if you're lazy, and you don't want to go through the whole process of understanding, okay, I'll do this first, that'll help me kind of relax, which is like when you do the deep breaths and things like this. And then you go, oh, okay, then from there's something else I can do that's going to help me slow down. Maybe you can organize your different tasks into like a schedule. Maybe you can have a calendar or something like that as well. But at the end of the day, Cristian, what he was saying there is he's addressing the very, very core issue at the very, very bottom, which is the root of everything that is basically causing you to act in the way that you are acting, which is your belief. And addressing your intention behind what you're doing is the most important thing that you can do, because then once you alter that very root, everything else changes and everything else begins to change. So what Cristian's saying is there is you can go down and change the root. If you're not quite ready to do that yet,
just take the breaths.
Take the breaths. Now, some 3 quick, easy little times in which you can just take some deep breaths in your day and slow yourself down and start to tackle your rushing, start to tackle that habit is 1. You sit there in the car. As soon as you get in the car, you take 3 deep breaths. 4 in, 4 out. Every time. No matter if there's someone else in the car with you that doesn't know what you're doing, they'll think you're strange, they'll think you're weird, do it anyway. That's where the power comes from. 2, when you get out of the car, do the same thing. And 3, at 11:11 every single day. Take 3 deep breaths, 4 in, 4 out. And that starts to bring intervals into your day. It starts to slow you down, and it starts to remove as much rushing from your life, which can make you more aware of who you are, your interactions with different people, and why you are rushing in the first place. And then that allows you to, as Cristian was saying before, identify your intentions. And then from there, you can start to change your beliefs. And in doing so, alter the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, because sometimes you need to change them, sometimes you don't. So it's literally just by slowing down, you realize if you need to or if you don't. So what you do is you literally have an alarm on your phone. So literally make things as easy as possible for you. So Calum has an alarm on his phone at 11:11 and it goes off. And that just reminds him that, oh, now is the time to take my breaths. So that you don't have to think about it throughout the day. As, oh, when's 11:11? Oh, what's the time now? Is it 11:11? Set an alarm. So I do the same thing at 11:30. So yeah. Literally make things easy for yourself. Set time throughout the day, 11:11, set an alarm each day, and then you do it. Non-negotiable. And no one needs to know you're doing it as well. Because breathing, people can't see you breathing. You can literally just stop, look around, and breathe. 4 breaths. Done. We can do it right now. Let's do it right now. 4 deep breaths. All right. That's simple.
Done. Just like
Done.
that.
So easy. What was that? Less than 10 seconds. All right. Well.
Oh, recommendations.
Recommendation.
Little
this
section.
is also another segment that we're going to do each podcast. So starting off with our learning, having that question. Now we're going to give a recommendation for you guys. It could be either book, podcast, a quote, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not a quote. Recommendation, isn't it? Quotes later on. We're going to give you guys some spicy quotes later. Yeah, but this is a recommendation. Either a book, podcast, music, artist, or song recommendation. So let's see if we can give one relating to that first question. So a recommendation relating to either purpose or slowing down or rushing, something along those lines. You can go first, sir.
Ooh. I'm going to go with Composure Part 2 by Hit Boy and Nas.
Is that a song? Yep.
It's a song recommendation. Composure Part 2 by Hit Boy and Nas. Talks about composure, the importance of it. It's a really cool little beat. a lot of music songs actually have heaps of really cool, useful takeaways in them, a lot of value in them. These guys have actually formed a good mindset to be able to get to where they are, right? A lot of people have actually struggled and they've found different ways in which they can be the best they can be. And so you'll find that a lot of rap music, a lot of hip hop music, there's some real little gems, little nuggets of wisdom. So Composure Part 2 by Hit Boy and Nas, banger of a track, relaxed song, but it's got good wisdom and good value to take away.
Beautiful. Awesome. I'll have to listen to that on the way home. I think that's also just a cool thing to just think about there that I was just thinking about there is, I guess everyone goes through their struggle and we all have our own way of teaching it to the world. So some people make music and put their learning lessons in the music. We do coaching. Some people write books, podcasts. So yeah, that's so cool. That's just something I thought about. And how cool is that? How cool is that?
Yeah, it is, man. That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For those so you can listen to 5-minute song there? 3 minutes?
Oh, 3 minutes, dude.
Bang.
Yeah.
So you can get 3 minutes of wisdom right there. If you want to maybe take 3 hours or maybe 30 days or something, I'm going to give a book recommendation. So this is one of my favorite books, and this book will help you find more peace within yourself, which will help you with not to rush so much. And it's called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. You've read this book?
Oh, yes, sir. Twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, it's such a great book. Just go ahead and read it. It's a great book. It teaches you how to find peace within yourself and within the world, how to be comfortable within the world, and how to essentially love yourself. And as you said before, with your relationship story that you talked about before, if you can't love yourself, or if you can't find peace within yourself, you won't possibly be able to do it with another person. So it's an important, crucial step number one. Loving yourself, finding peace within yourself. So then you can pass it to other people, because you can't give what you don't already have.
Sir.
So
yes, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for that recommendation, Cristian.
Very great recommendations,
it's
bro.
It's a great one. We've had so much value from that book, haven't we?
Yeah, that's one of the core books. I get all my clients to read it. There's 2 books I get them to read, technically 3. It's The Way of the Superior Man by David Dieter. And because I work with lots of male clients, so I get my males to work with that, to read that. And Return to Love, I get everyone to read. Both the girls and the guys. Return to Love. They're just foundational books. Another good one is Mindset by Cal Estwick. That's a great book too. That's
we'll have
one.
To leave that recommendation for next time. Won't
Yes,
we?
that's one that my mentor actually got me to read as the first book. One of my mentors, who we should have on as a guest on the podcast one day soon. Now that he's living back in Melbourne.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Well, we shall move on to the next question.
Question 2.
Yes. I'm excited for this question because it blends in beautifully from what we've been talking about so far.
Let me ask it, all right?
You can ask away, sir.
Okay, question 2. You hear all the time these days people talking about how they want to have more balance. Right? Balance. How do you balance putting yourself first without losing the other things in your life that are important to you?
Yeah, so we did not even intentionally sync these 2 questions up, but by chance they just managed to come at the perfect time. So when you talk about rushing, lots of us go directly to, I need to stop doing everything and have time for myself.
Yep.
So we can either isolate in doing too much, or we can isolate in, oh shit, I've done too much, now it's time for me to do nothing.
Yeah.
And then that in itself can also be a form of self-sabotage. So, last episode we talked all about self-sabotage. So you can self-sabotage in your work and in your rest. So basically this question is asking, well, how do you know when to do both, and how to make time for each thing? Because you can't spend all your time working, but you also can't spend all your time at the gym, but you also can't spend all your time at revs, and you also can't spend all your time with your friends or your family, because they will die. The other things will die. So I found a great system, and this is something I teach my clients in my coaching, and you're going to get it here for free, is step one is you figure out what the priority is in your life. Because what most people do is we actually try to balance everything, and I don't believe that balance is the way to go. So what balance would look like is you spend, let's say you got 24 hours in a day, you'd spend like 8 hours at the gym, 8 hours with your family, 8 hours in your career. You can't really do that because you won't make, if your energy or your concentration is spread evenly throughout everything, like literally 33%, 33%, 33%, then nothing will grow because nothing's really getting the attention it needs to grow. Nothing will grow. You'll just stay stagnant in everything. You'll make a bit of progress, but you won't really make the progress that you could be making or the most optimized progress or the most efficient progress. And it's not talking about being super productive, it's about being proficient. And efficient means just being appropriate in the moment. It's a good way to give a definition for that, being appropriate in the moment. So instead of trying to balance everything, a good thing to do is first of all figure out which area of your life is the priority. Which one's the most important right now? And you can think there's probably like 7 areas of our life, but there's three main ones, and the seagull is trying to tell me which one do you think?
Hey, bruh.
Yeah, he wants to say something. Maybe he has a lake recommendation instead of a book recommendation.
Like, boys.
He recommends Listerfield Lake.
Listerfield Lake.
He's calling all his mates. There they come.
Hey, here we go.
There they go.
The boys, they're all rocking up.
All the boys.
What's up,
the gang, the squad.
What's going on?
All right. So, figure out which one the priority is. Mm-hmm. And there's essentially 3 areas of your life. There's your health, which you can divide into physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, if you want that one too. There's your health, there's your relationships, so you got like a romantic relationship, friends and family. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is your career, so that can be your finances and your career. And then obviously the last one would be yourself, which is basically all of those things. And you can divide things further if you want, but those are basically the 3 main, those are the 3 main umbrella sections of your life. So you have those 3 sections of your life, and then you pick which one's the priority. And a great way to figure out which one's the most important right now, which one I should focus on the most, is you think about which one is holding you back, or which one is constraining you the most right now in your life. So let's say finances is a thing that's really holding you back. Like you've got your relationships are cool, you're quite healthy, you don't have any like major health problems that are really holding you back from doing anything else in your life, then maybe career will be the most important thing. But if you're really struggling with like mentally or emotionally, maybe that's the thing to focus on right now. And you'll focus on that. That'll be your priority for this current season. And a season could be 2 weeks. A season could be 2 months. A season could be 2 years. It's essentially you get it to where you need it to be until it gets there, which, for your mental emotional, that could take just like a week or 2 weeks for you to get to a place where that's no longer holding you back. For something else, it could take much longer than that. And that's okay. Either one of those is okay. So you figure out which one's the priority. And priority doesn't mean the one that's constraining you, the ones that are not constraining you, they don't have to be where you want it to be in the end. So obviously, if you are not jacked, that doesn't mean that is the constraint. Because even though the being jacked is the goal, that does mean that is the constraint. The constraint is which one's holding you back. Because obviously, in all those 3 areas of our life, we want them to be at a certain point, and they're probably not going to be there all at the same time. So you're just picking which one do I need to work on now, even if the other ones aren't where they should be right now. So both of those things can be true at the same time. So figure out the priority. Now, what most people do that is incorrect is we think that, okay, well, if that's the priority, we're going to spend all our time doing that. But then what happens if we do that? What happens if we spend all our time doing just one thing?
Well, we form something called tunnel vision, which we can sometimes perceive as being very useful. And tunnel vision has its time. But tunnel vision also stops us from being able to see everything else that's going on around us. And therefore, we can lose sight of other things in our life which are important to us.
Yeah. So essentially, if we spend all our time doing one thing, the other things die. The other things die because we have that tunnel vision. We're not thinking about anything else. And this is very popular on social media these days. This thing of disappear for 30 days, disappear for a year and come back. Yeah, but if you disappear for a year, you lose everything that you have. You lose everything. So don't disappear for a year.
Can we just quickly
go? Just prioritize, learn how to prioritize. But
yes,
the lone wolf mentality.
The lone wolf mentality, all right. And we're just going to touch on this very quickly. Disappear for a year, right? Is it not just another form of escapism?
It is. It's literally the question 1. It's, I need to prove myself. I need to prove myself. It's coming from a place of insecurity. You don't need to disappear from Rio. You can prioritize. You can focus on your work, or you can focus on the gym, but don't need to disappear. Maybe what you need to do is remove the things that don't serve you, but it doesn't mean you disappear. Maybe you remove the friends who don't serve you, or you remove the habits that don't serve you, but you don't need to disappear and isolate. You don't need to do that.
It's glorified, isn't it, a lot these days?
It's glorified.
The whole lone wolf.
It's glorified.
Yeah, it's get out of there, do it all on your own.
No one's coming to save me, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Well,
take responsibility.
Yeah, 100%.
It's okay. You don't need to kill everyone who's not on your wavelength.
No, man.
Yeah, people are human.
Exactly right. There's this... So, you know Star Wars?
I've never watched it, but
big fan of Star Wars. Love it. And I feel like I resonate with Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. These real kind of lone wolf characters.
Mm-hmm.
But in every single episode, they're always meeting new people. They're always connecting with new things. And in Boba Fett, what he says is this really cool line, and it rings in my mind all the time. And it just goes, you can only get so far without a tribe.
100%. Yeah, that's so true. So us as humans, we're tribal creatures. So you need to have your level of independence. You need to be able to survive by yourself. But at the end of the day, we're tribal creatures. So that shouldn't be the goal. Shouldn't be the goal. Yeah, it should be to find your people. Because life's meant to be shared. And
also finding your people is a part of it. Is just being able to actually connect with those people when they're there.
And it's also just being able to learn about yourself. Can't connect with yourself, can't connect with other people.
I tell you what, you're connecting with flies today, man.
I am. They love me.
They absolutely fucking love you today. They love me.
Dude. It's okay. Maybe I didn't shower well this morning. Nah, jokes. I had a nice long...
Nah, there's no way that you didn't shower this morning.
I had a cold shower. Cold shower, plenty of soap.
We are both in this routine. There's no way.
Yeah, it must be the inner wog in me just sweating like a meatball.
Hey, bruh, you know. It's good.
So yeah, step one is find the priority. So now that you've found the priority, whichever area of your life it is, what you can also do is within the priority, you can find which area of it is constraining you. So if you say health, what is it? Is it your sleep? Is it your nutrition? Is it your mental health? Whatever it is. But you can do that.
These are really good points, man.
Really good points.
Really loving this.
People pay me lots of money to hear them, so you're getting them for free. If you want specified, personalized direction on what would your points be, what to do about it, DM me and we can just have like a quick chat over Messenger or whatever just to figure it out for you. Like if you get stuck, you can even just send me what you wrote down and we can just go back and forth on some ideas. But you can even do that with Calum too. But essentially, once you've pick the area, the thing not to do is to go 100% into that and then 0% into the other two areas, because then they die. And then you might have leveled up in your health or your career, but then like, oh shit, now that I've got that, now I'm going to have to try and level up my relationships. And then you go 100% into that and all the progress you made in your career has gone backwards. And then you go back into that and then progress on the other things gone backwards, and then you go back, just cycle back and forth. You increasing everything at the risk of everything else. Now, obviously, to increase, you need to make sacrifices.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you need to make sacrifices.
Of course.
You need to sacrifice the things that are not beneficial for you in the long term, but doesn't mean you sacrifice everything. Doesn't mean you sacrifice everything. So you need to make compromises and sacrifices 100%. You do need to do that, but doesn't mean you stop everything. So you pick the priority. Step 2 is then for the other two areas, you just ask yourself this simple question. Very simple question. How do I maintain them? And the way to figure that is you ask yourself, what is the minimum amount of effort I need to put into these other areas of my life to maintain them, or so that they don't go backwards? So let's use an example. Let's say your priority right now is your career. So you might decide, I need to spend this time per day on my career, or each day, whatever it is. You have all this time in your career. So then you might go into, okay, well, that means I need to maintain my relationships and my health. So let's start at health. You might think, okay, idealistically, I want to go to the gym 6 days a week for twice a day, 6 days a week for 2 hours, or whatever it is. And if you do that, you're going to make huge gains in the gym, and there's nothing wrong for doing that. But if your priority is your career, then it's not appropriate for this current season. So then you might say, okay, even though I want to go to the gym that amount of times, what's the minimum amount I need to go so that my physique doesn't go backwards?
Yeah, man.
And that might be 3 days a week, 2 hours each thing, or whatever it is for you. So that don't go backwards. And that means you have to be okay. Now, this is the main thing. You have to be okay if that area of your life does not make the progress that you want it to make.
Yeah, you got to sacrifice.
But that's the sacrifice you're making. But it's not going backwards.
Yes.
You're being okay that, okay, I'm only going 3 days a week. And I understand that if I do that, you're managing your expectations here. I understand that if I do that, I'm not going to reach that goal as quickly as my career goal. Now, when you're prioritizing, you're not picking which area of your life wins. You're just picking which one wins first. So you're not picking between, does my health win or does my career win? All of them will win. You're just picking which one wins first. Which one wins first? It's not so black and white.
Well, and you can be tactical about it as well, because then you can build on things. Like, say you needed to get your health in order first. Then you get your health in order first, and then you can go to the gym more often. If gym was, then it's really important that you want to get your physical health up. You want to get jacked like that. Fantastic. Then you've got that health as the foundation to be able to actually make that progress in the gym.
Exactly. And as we said, like, if health is your main thing, it doesn't mean you stop working.
No, because then how are you going to afford to be able to eat healthy food?
Yeah, it doesn't mean you stop working. It's just, do I need to cut back on the amount of shifts I'm doing or whatever it is so I can spend more time for my health?
It's really practical what you explained there. It's really, that's probably the best part about it. It's so like logical. It's so practical. It's like...
You literally write it down.
Yeah, it brings it so much easier for us to be able to understand. All right, cool. It's actually not that hard to start to get to where we want to be in life.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of just prioritization and going, okay, well, I don't need to spend as much time on that right now because that's what's more important to me.
Yeah,
so you raise a really good point, and it's useful for so many young people because we're in this really good time now that we can start to move our life in the direction that we want to move it in. But it's like, oh crap, where do I want to start? I want to be jacked. I want to get all the girls, but I want to have all the money.
Yeah,
and I want to be healthy. But it's like,
where do I start? Because all these things are great.
Yeah.
You can achieve all these things, but the thing that holds us back is you try to do all of them at once.
100%.
And we're just chopping and changing,
Yeah.
but you never make any real progress in any of them.
Yeah.
So step one is figure out which one's the most important constraint, and that doesn't mean you're picking which one wins and which ones lose. It just means which one wins first. So pick that, and then this is what you do. Like, this will only take you half an hour, so you pick which one wins, and then literally go into all those areas of your life and all the little subcategories and write down all the things you do and all the things you think about, all the things you do. So you might put in all the different relationships you have and all the different like workouts you do, all the different blah, 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 all the amount of time you spend doing these things that you're doing. Just do like a little audit, and it doesn't take more than literally 10 minutes to do that little task there. Cross out the things that aren't that important. This is really important for relationships, so cross out all the things that aren't as important, and then for the things that remain, literally just ask yourself, like, just go through each one individually. How much time do I have to spend in this per week or per fortnight or per month, so that it doesn't go backwards? Some relationships you might need to see them once a week, some might just be once a month. And then we talked about habit tracking last week, or in the first episode. I think it was the first episode. If you want, you can add those things into a habit tracker just to make sure that you're doing them. Very simple.
Yeah,
it's just so simple.
You have absolutely nailed this topic, and it's super awesome. Obviously, if you want to learn more about it, Cristian's an absolute master at this type of thing in terms of breaking down your priorities and stuff like that. He's an absolute master, so get in touch with him.
Yeah, because when it comes to any form of self-improvement, we're both firm believers, so just keep it simple.
Yeah, man.
Because it doesn't have to be complicated. Keep it as simple as possible. I
tell people I'm lazy because it's like I'm like the most incredibly organized lazy person.
I think being lazy is being naturally lazy is a superpower, because you naturally think about, okay, how can I do this as quickly as possible?
Dude, exactly right.
Yeah.
Because you
not in a rushing way.
You don't want to be spending, like, you don't want to be wasting time.
You don't want to be wasting time.
Right.
But even that can be a limiting belief. Am I wasting time?
Oh, well, it just comes back down to the intention like what we were saying before.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to the next one, dude?
Well, I want to hear your thoughts on the prioritization and balance.
Quickly, just before we move on then, balance.
And you can also talk about where the... I want to talk about, like, if social media has an influence on this.
Yeah.
On everything we've talked about so far, the balance and the rushing. But I want to hear your thoughts on that first, and then we can quickly touch on that. Your thoughts on anything you need to add from balance and prioritization. Because I know you have some great nuggets of wisdom to share.
Balance. Balance is basically just weighing up two different things. And understanding ourselves, what we want to achieve, like what you were saying before, and prioritizing our time around that. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to your time management. And the only thing that we can't buy back, and you've heard it 1,000 times before, is time.
You can earn money, you can regain relationships, blah, 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 time.
Exactly. Yeah. But you can kind of buy time in a way. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is when you say you have enough earnings in the bank, you have enough family around you, or you have loving family around you, and you have enough money in the bank, you can use that money to invest in different things
that save you more time,
that give you, that free up more time for you to be able to do different things, right?
So if you think about what we talked about at the start in relation to intention, like a really strong intention to do your work is so that you can free up more time to spend with your loved ones.
Well, exactly.
But that doesn't mean that you don't spend time with them now. You just maintain it.
You just maintain it now. Yeah. And so, but then that's like the time that we're talking about. And then the time at the end of the day that we're looking to get more of is essentially being used to connect with different people. Because I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that all of this prioritization, all of this trying to find a balance in the different things that we do throughout our day, it all comes down to a sense of wanting more connection with different people. Because we, as the human race, we are all one entity.
The apple.
The apple.
We're the apple.
We're the apple. And we want to, if you believe it or not, you want to connect with everyone around you as much as possible. And you might think that you don't have enough money in the bank. You might think that you don't have enough friends. You might think that you don't have enough confidence. And all of those things are little walls that you've set up that hold you back from being able to connect with the people that you want to.
Yeah.
And that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day.
And I think at the end of the day, the most important thing in life is connection. That's the most important thing.
Love.
Like everything we do, at the end of the day, it's love. And by love, we don't mean romance. It's just connecting with people and being accepted by people and finding people who you accept and accepted by.
Yeah, man.
Just having a good group of people around you. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. And all these other things just contribute to getting there at the end of the day. That's correct, dude. So that's what it is.
And it's basically just peeling back of the layers. Just making sure that we don't stop ourselves from, because we want to allow ourselves. Why do you think you want to have all of that money? Because then you think if you have all the money, you'll be accepted. And therefore, at the end of the day, you will allow yourself
to have more
to feel the way that you want to feel.
Exactly. So basically what we're saying here is the root cause is connect with yourself. It's not the money. The thing that's going to improve your life is not the money, it's the relationship with yourself.
Yes, exactly right. And that's what we need to work on at the most. And that's why coaching, that's why we do what we do, because we bring an awareness to our clients to the fact that this is actually what they're after.
Yeah.
It's not the money. Yes, the money's great.
Yeah,
it's not
that's a byproduct.
It's not the fame, but you're exactly right.
It's a byproduct.
Just a byproduct of your deep down desire.
It's what just happens.
That you want that connection with everyone around you. You want to be able to rock up into a room. I would challenge you and say, imagine you walking into a club, you don't know anyone, or walking into a room, you don't know anyone, on your own. You walk in there, there's no safety net of having another person there with you, and you're just rolling up into that room. Imagine being able to do that. Why can we not do that? When we're all existing in life together, we feel as if we walk into that room and then we have nothing to talk about with people. We share life.
Yeah, we share humanity.
We share humanity. We share life. We share the air. Every single thing that we do is shared, and yet we walk into a room like that petrified that we have nothing to talk to these people about.
Yeah.
Why do we think that way? It is a self-limiting belief.
Just
likely.
Get to know the other person.
We think that we're not going to be able to connect with these different people. We're not going to have anything to talk about with these different people, when that's not true. That's just a thought that we have in our mind that then creates that reality.
Yeah. Your thoughts control your emotions, that control your actions, which control your outcomes. Yes. So there was one really brief thing. Connection. So here's just a cool statistic and just about the importance of connection. So I always get the order mixed up. It's 70%. We can process and manage and maintain 70% of our emotions independently, but the remaining, it's 50 to 70% of we can do that ourselves, we can regulate 60%, 50 to 70% of our emotions we can regulate by ourselves. The remaining 30 to 50% comes from our relationships. So to a certain degree, to our survival, relationships are important. So the lone wolf mentality, not good long term. Maybe it can work short term, but long term, no. And me personally, I prioritize long term over short term. So
now,
question time. Is it question time? No.
I think we should do that.
Wait, we answered that question. So we can move on to
I'm conscious of getting burnt.
Getting burnt. Well, last time we got burnt. Last time we turned into tomatoes. No, I don't have sunscreen. I don't use sunscreen. All right, moving on. So we got a cool little segment we thought of. It's called Thinking Out Loud or Shower Thoughts. So we're just gonna share and think out loud. We might get these wrong, but this will be an opportunity for us to process and for you to learn. About
this is cool.
What's something we've been pondering this week, or thinking out loud, or just our shower thoughts.
Yeah.
So there you go.
What's a shower thought? So I've been reading this book. It's called What the Buddha Taught recently, and it's actually this really
What the Buddha Taught.
Yeah, it's a really cool book. My friend gave it to me, and it's awesome. And so in that book, it talks a lot about the 4 main truths that are essentially like the pillars of Buddhism.
Yep.
And in that, like the first one is, it talks about everything is dukkha. And dukkha,
what does dukkha mean?
Well, it's a play on the words that all life is suffering. And you've probably heard that before when it comes to Buddhism. All life is suffering. Now,
I don't know much about Buddhism, so no.
It's actually really fascinating, man.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that.
It's definitely worth the read. And in this book, it talks about everything is dukkha. And recently I've been finding more about that. And I was actually talking to my partner about this in bed last night. I was just lying there. We were chatting about different things, and we brought up that, okay, everything is dukkha. If I'm going to commit to her, which I have,
of course.
When I made that decision to commit to her, I was essentially setting myself up for pain. Because in order to have that attachment with her,
there's a sacrifice. And
she's going to die one day.
Yeah, of course.
And when she dies, that is going to hurt.
That's going to be painful.
But it's a choice that I've made to say that I am okay with that level of pain as long as I get to have this relationship with her.
So I think a very important thing there is realizing that no matter what you choose, there's always going to be a level of, this is something I've been talking about recently too, a lot in my coaching, is no matter what area of your life you choose, what career path you do, because lots of my clients are like, where do I go? What's my career path? No matter what you choose, there's always going to be a level of suffering or level of pain. So the question is, a good question to ask yourself is, what path am I willing to suffer through? What pain am I actually willing to go through? The pain of relationship or the pain of not having a relationship.
Yeah.
Both of them have the pain. Both of them have some level of suffering. So yeah, it's asking yourself. That's a very good thing. So was that your pondering, or are you going to go into the other 3?
That's my shower thought.
Yeah, that's a great shower thought. So that's a cool thing to think about in the shower is, is the pain that you're going through worthy? Sometimes it would be, because if you're going through a painful situation right now, just ask yourself, is this a pain you're committed to going through?
Well, it's not the removal of pain from your life, because you can't do that.
It's the acceptance of the pain.
It's the acceptance that whatever decision you make is going to come with an inherent level of pain, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. And
have the expectation of that, because sometimes we expect things to be super easy, that we get disheartened when there is pain.
Yeah, I do.
So it's just expect that, okay, no matter what I do, there will be a challenge along the way.
Yes.
And that's okay. So it's now seeing challenges not as terrible, but as necessary, or as a prerequisite in the criteria of getting to the place where you want to go.
You've said it really, really well. And what it does is it just allows you to understand that, okay,
when
I come up against some sort of blockage, when I come up against something that's like, oh no, this is uncomfortable now, instead of going, oh, I'm going to stop, this is not right, it's be like, no, that's just an inherent part of this process.
It's just part of the journey. And it's also allows us to not go into shame, because sometimes we can think, oh, there must be something wrong with me. No, this is just a necessary part of the process.
Yes.
Necessary part of the process.
If you wanted to have the good bits, you have to handle the crap bits.
Yeah. Embrace the suck. So my shower thought has been talking about, this is something I've been pondering a lot, and it's how, and I heard this from Matt Lavars, who's one of our Calum and my coaches recently. Great man. Absolutely love that man. And he talked about in one of the coaching calls that I was on like 2 or 3 months ago, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently. So that's just a cool way about how our brain works. You can hear something like months ago, and then your brain just remembers it today, which is cool. So the things you're learning about today, they might not make sense to you until like a year from now, and that's awesome. So the shower thought I've been having, he talks a lot about how 2 things can be true at the same time, and one of the reasons why society is so divided today is we don't realize this. So we go so extreme into one or the other, and we can't even compromise that 10% or even just 20% of someone else or the other side could be true.
It's another form of attachment, man.
Attachment. So 2 things can be true at the same time. So it can be raining and sunny at the same time.
Yeah.
Now this links into what you were saying just then. You can go through a painful situation, but it can also be necessary. Both those things can be true at the same time. The good and the bad can be true at the same time. So I think that's it's a very good sign of maturity when you realize 2 things can be true at the same time. Because if you don't realize that, essentially, most importantly, that pain usually happens also whilst success happens, or it's along the way, then you might associate pain with incorrect, or like if this has resistance then it is wrong, or I'm doing it incorrect. But sometimes both those things can be true at the same time, that there is pain but I'm also doing it the right way. So realizing that 2 things can be same at the same time, can be true at the same time, is a great show.
That's a great one, man.
Yeah, man. It's just
awesome.
It's such a sign. It really matures your.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. Let's say you called me fat.
Fatty.
Yeah. Let's say you called me a fatty.
Big old fatty.
Big old fat boy. And one thing, let's say I took offense to it. Now, I wouldn't take offense to it because I'm secure in myself that I wouldn't take offense to it. But let's say I did take offense to it. Now, one thing that could be true. Actually, I wouldn't take offense to it, but let's say the way you said it was mean. Like you said it because you wanted to insult me, but I just didn't get insulted because I didn't give a shit. But truth number 1 could be that was like rude of Calum to say. Let's say because maybe you said it in a way that you wanted to bring me down. So Calum wanted to bring me down. So that's truth number 1. But maybe I was a little bit chubby. That could also be true. And instead of me taking it personally, I'd be like, okay, maybe actually I do need to go to the gym. Not so that I could prove Calum, but maybe it's just, maybe I actually, thank you, Calum. I wouldn't tell Calum this, but I'd be like, maybe actually I do need to improve. So 2 things can be true at the same time. What someone said could be mean, but could also be true. So you don't want to remove the truth from something that someone said. So a good thing to always ask yourself is, where can this be true? Sometimes something is true. Sometimes it's not. So if someone insults you, ask yourself, where could this be true? If it is completely untrue, then you just disregard it. Don't take it personally. If there is even just like 10% of truth or 5% of truth, like look at it. So like if I called Calum lazy, even though I know Calum is a hard worker, like that can just be like a quick little 5-second self-reflection moment for Calum, and he can go, is there just little audit through my life? Is there any area of my life where I am being lazy? No. All right, cool. Oh, yeah, maybe I am. Cool. I can just think about that. So, yeah, where can this be true? Or is there any area where this is true?
Perfect, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it helps just, at the end of the day, just like relax.
Yes, sir.
Take the pressure off.
Now, while you're in that state of relaxation, Cristian, give me some things that we talk about gratitude all the time, right? We talk about gratitude, we talk about wins, we talk about things that are positive. It's really good to not necessarily dwell, but remind ourselves of the different things that we're grateful for, sort of program our mind to think and look and concentrate on these focus on these different areas of our life. So give me 3 things that are some wins or something that you're grateful for.
I love this question, and we're going to do this at the end of each episode. We're going to share 3 gratitudes and 3 wins, because gratitude, I know we'll come to the other thing at the end. Gratitude and anxiety can't exist in the mind at the same time. That's just like a cool thing for you guys to think about. If you're ever anxious, go straight into gratitude. So 3 things I'm grateful for. Right now, I'm grateful for this beautiful spot that we're in. The sun is out. When I checked the weather app last night, apparently it's meant to be storming, but I have no idea what it was saying. But I'm so grateful that I have a spot like this close to home. I've always known about this spot, but I never actually knew like how close it was or how beautiful it was. First time I came here was actually with you a few months ago.
Yep.
So I'm very grateful for this spot. I'm grateful for where I live. Very blessed to be where I live, not just because I live in a safe country or a safe place, but because it's so fucking beautiful. It's so beautiful. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my relationships. I'm grateful very much for my partner. It's the best relationship I've had, and I'm so committed to this relationship, and I love it so much. I'm so grateful for all the time we spend together, for all the great moments we share, and also all the moments we share with my other relationships. She integrates so well with my friends, with my family, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so very grateful for that. Another thing I'm grateful for is just this time you and I are spending together with this podcast, because you and I, we're great mates, but even just in this podcast, we get to spend just even more time together, which I love, and I'm so grateful for that, because you and I were on quite similar paths, and in spending more time together, we both just become better people, and we will likely just achieve both of our goals much sooner and with much ease because we have each other.
We're supporting each other, bro.
That's it. We're supporting each other. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for our friendship and our relationship, and for the support we have for each other, and just being able to spend more time.
I love you very much.
So those are my 3 gratitudes for this present moment right now.
Thank you for sharing those, man.
Thank you, sir. What about you?
That was awesome. It's honestly a credit to you how when you are asked what you're grateful for, you are speaking about things outside of yourself.
I missed the one that I really usually say, but you probably might say it.
Challenges?
Challenges.
Cristian has always loved his challenges. It's one of the biggest things that you got to love.
Whenever I get asked gratitude, because we say that a lot, we ask that a lot in our coaching. The one I always say, but I didn't say it today, is challenges. I'm always grateful for my challenges. But what are your 3 for today?
I am grateful for the beautiful, beautiful partner that I have in my life. Oh my gosh, she's awesome. She is fantastic. I'm grateful for being able to, in her company, share things vulnerably and just
be yourself.
We can be ourselves.
Yep. That's a gift.
It is an absolute gift. Not needing to try and portray this individual, not needing to try and be someone that I think is the ideal partner. Just be. And then when you do that, you just become the ideal partner because you've found that person that. And so it's just so much more natural.
That's such an important thing to realize. Like, if you relax, you actually become the thing you're trying to become.
Yeah. You just shed the skin of this ego that we all have, and we try and... So I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the freedom that she provides, or facilitates, and just the environment being around her. I'm grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for you and how much you push. You push me to be bigger than I am, and by doing so, that just extends to being able to serve our clients in the best way that we possibly can, and that is so important. What we're doing is the work is very important. It matters a lot. And so you and I being able to be here today, it just basically strengthens our bond and strengthens our ability to push each other. It strengthens our coaching. It strengthens our career pathways and the people that we serve, most importantly. So it's a credit to you and all the development that you do. I love it so much, the way you're at the moment. Intentionality is what Cristian is working on at the moment. It is very, very exciting, and we're all very excited to see how it turns out.
Thank you, sir. And I saw yesterday or recently that you created a new logo, Growing with Calum.
Yes, Growing with Calum.
I love it.
That's
I
where
love
it's at
the little
the moment.
circle around it.
Thank you very much. Growing with Calum. I actually did it myself.
I know.
So whipped out the old Photoshop, and so it's actually going pretty well. Yeah. We've created a community now, so we're working on that, and it's just a community of like-minded people.
Free community,
of course. So let us know if you would like to get in on that action, because like what Cristian and I what we were just saying before, it's the environment in which we have created that we facilitate with each other.
It's the exact same with all our clients.
Yeah, it allows us to be better.
We're very chill, laid back people, straight to the point as well, keep things simple, and we take things seriously, but not too seriously.
And if you've got people in your life that are growing and you're constantly seeing that, it's just like anything. You're constantly smoking. Well, you're a smoker. You constantly got friends in your life that are growing. You're going to naturally grow as well. Yeah,
so surround yourself with the people you want to be like.
Yeah, so join these communities. It doesn't have to be our communities.
You don't have to be like us.
Superior communities. But anyway. All right, Cristian.
One more thing you're grateful for.
One more thing I'm grateful for. I said 2. Honestly, the state of health at the moment, to put it a little bit selfish, but the state of health at the moment is something that has not been achieved before.
You're just in your healthiest state right now?
Just...
Mate, your biceps looking bigger than ever.
Being able to, thank you, I think it's partially a sunburn, but being able to, show up and serve and contribute and consistently do it.
Yep.
With a strong foundation of health.
Yep.
Is just an absolute blessing, something I'm very, very grateful for.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's such an important one. Health is wealth. So we're going to share quick 3 wins we've had recently, and then we'll share 1 quote, and then we'll give it a wrap.
All right.
Sound cool? So 3 wins I've had recently, or 3 wins. So my first win that I've had, someone's drowning. No, they're not. First one is, biggest win is tomorrow, Tuesday, going away, actually having that time to disconnect. That's a huge win for me.
Yes, sir.
Very looking forward to that. Another win I've had is, for me recently, is just the relationships I've had. That's a huge win for me. It's something I've been challenged with in the past. So having a nice, loving relationship, and having a good group of mates as well who I'm very connected with, and clients who I'm connected with, and I'm getting closer with my family as well. That's a huge win for me. And a final win for me, I'd say, is just my coaching. So launching Intentionality. I haven't officially launched it, but just building it and growing it and having my new clients and things along those lines, and seeing how that's going and testing out the new content, and everyone's like loving it so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, people loving it. So that's just a win for me. Good feedback for me. The win for me is the feedback, whether the feedback is good or bad, or positive or negative. That's just a win for me. So those are 3 wins. So the relationships slowing down, and the feedback I'm getting with my coaching.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. What about you?
3 wins. I've been doing a lot of running recently.
I saw
Loving
that.
the running.
Went for one yesterday, didn't you?
Loving the running, and we're doing it really fast.
Hey, you should do a half marathon or marathon. Because I did 2 last year.
Doing a fun run next week.
Well, how much?
Doing 10K.
10K?
Fine, yeah.
Sick. How are you feeling for it?
Yeah, all good.
Good?
Like, we'll smash it. It's no problem.
You can run? You've ran 10K?
Oh, yeah. We did it the other week.
We should go for a run.
We should definitely go for a run. But actually, like, being able to go for a run, and that's a win, because it's always been something that has been filled with a lot of enjoyment, but now actually having the time to do it. And the biggest win of it all is you can combine it with social, which is the best thing ever, because talking about efficiency and things like that.
Yeah, you can like sort of habit stack.
It's like you've got people you're hanging out with, and you're doing something fun together, and you're achieving, and it's like win, win, win. Genuinely got a naked kid running around.
We had a little naked boy doing some running around. He still is. Up he goes. All right, we're gonna have to cut that out so there's no pornography. All right, let's quickly share some quotes. Okay. Quick fire, just 1 quote. 1 quote. He's literally sitting right here. Hey, bro, how you doing? You got anything to say? All right. All right. Quick quote from you.
Okay, quick quote from me. Faith is what you make it, by Outcast.
What does that mean?
Faith is what you make it. It's basically just...
He made a castle.
It's very, very distracting.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Great. Take a breath. Composure.
Faith is what you make it. Basically, what can be right for someone is not necessarily right for someone else.
Okay.
And that's quite liberating in ways, because you've got this set of beliefs, and if you find something very contradicting to you, and you think someone else is doing something differently and you don't agree with it, question if it's wrong, or if it's something that you believe and it might not necessarily be wrong for them. And just make allowance for the fact that they have their own belief system, they have their family, they've inherited it, and like what you were saying before, 2 things can be true. So just allow for the fact that maybe what you believe in and what they believe in are different, and therefore their actions have reflected that. The way they interact with different situations is a reflection of that.
Awesome. Beautiful. Cool. I'm going to give one from Taylor Welch, and it relates to what we were talking just then about Like two things being true at the same time. And if you say something to me and I get offended and blah, 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 blah. Also talking about, we talked about that a lot last episode, but it's he who triggers you controls you. So at the end of the day, like if someone says something mean to you, you're the one who decides it's mean, or you're the one who gets like offended by it. So he who triggers you controls you. So if you want to have control over if I want to control Calum, if I want to have emotional control over Calum, I'll just like say something that I know is an insecurity. Like this is obviously like, don't do this. But if I want to have control over you, if like I want to manipulate you, if I know what you're insecure about, I'll just like talk about that. And now I've controlled your emotion. So if you don't want to be manipulated, get yourself to a point where you have emotional control, and no matter what anyone says to you, easier said than done. This takes a lot of work, and this is just like a progressive activity that happens for the entirety of your life. Just pay attention to your triggers and overcome them, because he who triggers you controls you. So if you can't get triggered by anything, no one can control you, and you have complete control over your life. Also, another bonus quote is the key task of life by Seneca or Epictetus, one of the Stoics. Key task of life is to focus on what is in your control. So only focus on things that are within your control. Don't control the weather, but we control how we respond to it.
Well said.
Beautiful place to wrap it up.
Let's go.
All right. Well, we are keen for episode 4. I think we're going to give a brief overview of what to expect in episode 4.
Yep.
So we're going to be at the beautiful Mountain Dandenong. You guys will be able to see absolutely everything behind us, the entirety of Melbourne, from St Kilda to the north to the bay. That's where we're going to be next time, and we're going to be talking about, we'll obviously have our lessons, our podcast our recommendations, our quotes, and our wins and our gratitudes. But the 2 questions we'll be asking ourselves, we're going to be talking about what direction to go in life, and what direction to go in life if you're feeling lost. So essentially, we're going to be talking about purpose. Yeah. So we said we're going to be talking about that in a later episode, and that's actually going to be
super well.
Next episode.
Awesome.
And then we're also going to be talking about why is prioritization the most important aspect of change. So we talked about that today, so we might decide on...
We might actually change that one for the next time.
Whether we need to change that,
maybe we can go a little bit deeper into it.
We can do a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Because you said most important aspect of change, so we can talk 100%. About it from the perspective of... Or we can just talk about change.
Well, yeah, we can talk about change.
How to do with change.
Why we want to change, like who we want to change into, and
what's
then
maybe
some more practical tips as well, and making sure that change is inevitable, and just creating the environments in which
being
you
okay
can
with change. Beautiful. Sick. All right, sir. Episode 3, going strong. Love this. And keen to get this done. Strong handshake. He's got a firm handshake.
Yes, sir.
Like a man. All right. We'll see you next episode on episode 4. And comment if you have any questions. Send us a message. Blah, blah, blah. And stick to the off the beaten path.
Let's go. Stick to the off the beaten path. Thanks,
Beautiful.
Cristian. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, sir.